Okay. So this is chapter 8, Akshara Brahma Yoga, attaining the Supreme. So we are in the Bhakti Yoga section of the Bhagavad Gita. So last chapter, we looked into the glory energies of the Lord. So now, before we begin, let us pay obeisance to Sri Radha Govinda. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Nanaka Shalakaya Chakshurmitam Ena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manoabhishtam Stapitam Ena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Utapada Kamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavscha Sri Rupam Sagarajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Ittam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakana Vittamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dino Bandho Jagat Pate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishavanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Mancha Kalpaturapyascha Kripa Sindhu Bacha Patitam Nam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatesha Tarine Jayo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna everyone. Thank you for coming. So what was the last chapter we saw? It was all about glories of knowledge about Krishna. Okay. And he said not everyone is able to know him and anything. So now then he talked about his energies, para energy and apara energy. That is, the material world is inferior and we have a superior energy, and Jivatma is also having superior energy. Unless superior energy is there, the material energy doesn't get activated. And then he said we are in the caught in the conditioned in the material world because of the modes of nature, and that is Maya. So because we have forgotten the Lord once we have come into this material world. And then he says Maya is very powerful and it is very difficult to overcome. Unless we surrender to him, then it is easy to cross it. So then he talked about there are 4 kinds of people who don't surrender to him and 4 kinds of people who surrender to the Lord. Then he talked about the worshipping the Devatas is like a misguided surrendering. And because the material benefits we get from the Devatas is just in this birth. And then the next birth we don't carry it over. But if we do the devotional service to the Lord, Supreme Person Lord, then that is carried out in our account. And we had, so impersonalism. And from delusion to devotion, how we should come out of this moha. Moha we have because of the Icha and Dvesha, right? Icha is we desire to enjoy this material world. That's why we have come. And Dvesha, we are envying others. The Lord Krishna also. That's why we wanted to enjoy. So the Lord said, okay, go ahead and enjoy here in this material. So we need to come out of this Maya and the attachment and detachment to go to the Lord. So now, what does it talk? Here in this chapter 8, there are, when finished talking about this, there were some technical terms which the Lord had used. So Arjuna starts asking him, what are those? What is Adhyatma? What is Brahma? What do you mean by karma? What? And then finally he said, people will remember me at the end of the death, time of death. Then he wants to know what is the Antyakala, what's happening. So all this, so he answers all these first 7 questions in these verses. For the last question, he takes the whole chapter. So remembering Krishna at the time of death. Then how people who are engrossed in this yoga, Ashtanga yoga, going into samadhi, with Paramatma in their hearts, and how do they remember Krishna at the time of birth, Hoga Mishra Bhakti. Then how we remember Krishna by pure bhakti. Then material world, it says there's another world there, which is from once you go there, you don't need to come back. Then he talks about supremacy of pure bhakti in attaining Krishna. So this is what is the thing. Then Arjuna Uvacha, Kim Tad Brahma, Kim Adhyatmam, Kim Karma Purushottama, Adi Bhutam Cha Kim Proktam, Hadi Devam Kim Uchyate. Arjuna inquired, O my Lord, O Supreme Person, what is Brahman? What is self? What are fruitive activities? What is this material manifestation? And what are the demigods? Please explain this to me. So, now then continues to ask, Adyagna Katam Kotra, Dehe Ismin Madhusudana, Prayana Kale Cha Katam, Neyosi Niyatmahi. So, how does this Lord of Sacrifice live in the body, and in which part does he live? O Madhusudana, how can those engaged in devotional service know you at the time of death? So, these were the 8 questions. And why this came? Because in the last chapter, in the last verse 79, Krishna has said, Jara Marana Mokshaya Mam Astriya Etyantiye Te Brahma Tad Vidu Krishnam Adhyatmam Karma Chakkilam Sadi Bhuta Adi Daivam Ma Sadai Agnam Cheme Vidu Prayana Kale Apichama Ke Vidu Viktasha. So these are the words he was using. So he wants him to clarify again some more on that. See, this is not like, when Krishna was talking in the Kurukshetra, that he went chapter-wise. Even there was dialogue was continuous. Only we have segregated, in chapters, so that we can have some good understanding and what is the theme in each chapter for our understanding. That's all. So, but the talk is continuous. So Krishna says Brahman is nothing but Jiva, indestructible living entity. Adhyatma is the controller of the body. That is the nature of Jiva. Karma is the fruitive activities. These are the actions which lead to material body. That is what's the body we are going to get in the next birth. Then Adi Bhuta, material manifestations, the material nature. Adi Deva is the supreme Devatas, universal form which includes all Devatas. Adi Agna is none other than Paramatma. Where does Adi Agna reside? He resides in the heart of all. And how to remember Krishna? Practice remembrance throughout life. We have to, because it's not that easy to remember at the final hour, because we don't know when it's going to come, and when and what situation will be, and what type of a body would be. So if you start practicing throughout, then you'll be able to remember even at the final hour. So Supreme Lord said that this indestructible transcendental living entity is called Brahman, and his eternal nature is called the self. Action pertaining to the development of these material bodies is called karma or fruitive activities. You know how we transmigrate from one body to the other. We carry our subtle body to the next. We leave the gross body here in this birth and take the subtle body. And subtle body has all our desires, our reactions, and of our past karma and everything, and the intelligence, and we carry it to the next body. Okay. And get a suitable body which is suiting to the desires we are thinking. So that is our destiny is in our hands. We're taking the next body. So here we have to know, here Krishna says, physical nature is known to be endlessly mutable. The universe is the cosmic form of the Lord, and I am that Lord represented as super soul dwelling in the heart of every embodied. That is, our body, physical body, is all the time changing. It's not that we are having the same body what we had yesterday. It keeps changing. The physical nature is always changing. The body keeps changing, right? We keep going from one temperature changing, our cells are changing, thought process are changing. What we were having 10 years back, same thought process are not there. Today we have a different value system and everything. And here we see this picture is a caterpillar. What it does after eating lot of leaves, it goes into pupa, and then being dormant for some time, then it takes the form of butterfly, isn't it? So, and here we are also doing the same. He says that the one who keeps remembering of the Lord all the time, then he finally attains the supreme. Here, caterpillar is all the time thinking of becoming a butterfly. That is the aim, to become a butterfly. So finally, its only aim is to be that, and slowly it gets. So same way, he says we need to meditate on the Lord all the time. Okay. So this universal form is the form of Supreme Lord, and that Lord represented a super soul dwelling in the heart of every embodied thing. Okay. So what should we do at the time of death? Can any of say? I mean, what have we been telling? Hare Krishna. Could respond a little bit.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
What should we remember at the time of death?
We should remember Krishna.
Okay, but otherwise, what happens?
We again take birth in this cycle of birth and death.
Okay. So we come out of the cycle of things. We should try to remember him at the final hour. So what does Lord say? Ante kale cha mam eva smaranam mukta kalevaram ya prayati sa mad bhavam ya nasti hatra samshaya. Whoever at the time of death quits his body, remembering me alone, at once attains my nature. Of this, there is no doubt. See, here itself, he gives you the clue how to get out of this jail. Okay, whatever this material. He says, no doubt. Nasti atra samshaya. And what we should do, we should remember him at the time of death, remembering me alone. Mad Bhava attains my nature. Nature means is superior nature, Sachidananda, we get back to his abode. Okay, so he says that. Here we see Bhishmadev, no? He was in the battlefield lying on the bed of arrows. He was waiting for the battle to finish and Yudhishthira be thrown. So when they come to meet him after everything was over, then Krishna brings them and everything. And actually Krishna knows Bhishmadev wants to see him before he passes away. He leaves this particular body. So he comes, he knows the wish of desire of his devotee. And when he comes, then Bhishmadev in the last hour, he'll be, once he sees the Yudhishthira's face, he understands that he's so remorseful and he is very sad of thing. And then gives him a lot of advice, telling him why he should take up the kingdom and rule and set right everything, whatever was things have been done by Duryodhana. So many things have been destroyed and all that. You have to set right the whole thing, and that's your duty. And just do it as your duty and not think that you are the cause of everything. It's the Lord who is the cause of everything, cause of all causes. So then he gives a beautiful prayer to the Lord Krishna and then leaves his body. So he's a great Mahajan. In fact, most Narada Muni was there, Vyasadeva, all sages were all there because they knew it was an auspicious moment when Bhishmadev is going to leave his body and he is giving his prayers to the Lord. So we have to remember, only remembering me alone, we can attain his nature. Of this, there is no doubt. Ante Kali. So, and we need to cultivate this mood. Otherwise, what happens at that time, we won't be able to remember, right? Throughout our life, we should depend on the Krishna. Then only we can remember him. So it depends mostly on our sadhana, how we practice abhyasa. So what was here, this scene, can anyone remember? This is a thing from Mahabharata, Hare Krishna. I think it's very famous one. All the brothers are all unconscious here, and only Yudhishthira is awake.
Yeah, I think this is when he goes to that a dog comes, right? I mean, it's basically around he gets 1 second of hell or something. Is that the story?
No, Prabhuji, there's a lake nearby.
Prabhuji, yeah, so basically you did all he tells his brothers to go and get some water. So one by one nobody comes back. So he goes to check what is happening near the lake. And then Yaksha, who is Yamaraj in the form of Yaksha, asks him questions. Like, if you answer my questions, then all your brothers will come back to life again. Is that the conversation?
Yes,
Mataji?
Mataji. Yes, Mataji. What was the answer he gave, Mataji?
He asked, Yaksha asked, what is that one thing which really surprises you in this world? So he says that I'm really surprised at the way people are living their life, because at one moment you see that people are dying in front of you, and in the next moment again you're enjoying your life. So how can people enjoy their life when they are seeing death in front of them every moment?
That means they are not preparing for the death. So they are not trying to prepare. They know that the time will also come, but they don't prepare. So hundreds and thousands of living entities meet death at every moment. But a foolish being, living being, nonetheless think himself deathless and does not prepare for death. So this is the most wonderful thing in this world. So Kim
Hey, Mataji.
Ashcharyam. Yes, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, you had a question. Tell me, Prabhuji.
No, I was saying thank you for the story.
Yes.
I got confused.
Yes, Prabhuji, yes. So it's just a mix-up. That was then the thing when he leaves the, they take Vanaprastha, no? They go to that. So that is the one which you are talking. But this is the one when they were in the forest, no? In the 13 years of, 12 years of exile. At that time, this is what happens. And there's an extra who comes as a, Yamaraj is the one who comes and questions him. So then he answers this. So this is what we are in Maya. See, this itself can make out, no? We are in illusion. We know a fine death will come, but we are not trying to be prepared for that. So that is what the most wonderful thing in this world. We forget and we think we are going to live even tomorrow or for any coming 100 years, and we don't prepare. So that can anytime come. So define. So old means we don't say 12 years young, no, we say 12 years old. Why old? Because we are going slowly towards the death. So what will be the results of remembering anything else other than Krishna? So what will happen? So we will go as per our karma. Whatever faith, yeah. So yam yapi smaranan bhavam त्यजाति अन्ते कलेवरम tam tam ivati kaunteya sada tad bhava bhavitah. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. So he says, whatever we state we have there at that time, if we keep thinking of all the dog which is there, and then who will take care of this dog or who will take care of this property, and I mean whatever be the thing, whatever be your worry over that time, whatever the state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. Here this is the story of Maharaj Bharat Maharaj and how he attains the form of deer in the next life. Anyone remembers this? This is a story from Bhagavatam. Maharaj
Yes,
yeah, Mataji, go ahead. You know the stories. Nicely you tell. Go ahead, Mataji.
So, so Bharat Maharaj, when he was about to leave his body, he was thinking. So basically, our Bharatvarsh, what is our country's name? Bharat is named after this king, Bharat Maharaj. So, so when he died, and So once he gave up his kingdom and went to the forest to do tapasya and all, so there he got attached to a deer very much. So he thought that I have renounced my kingdom and my family and all, now I can do tapasya and go back to godhead. But fortunately or unfortunately, he got attached to a deer, so he started taking care of that deer as a parent. So slowly he got so attached that at the time of his death, even though he renounced everything, he only thought about the deer. So in the next janma he came as a deer, and because he was a devotee of the Lord, so he could remember his past birth. So he did not get attached to anything in that birth. So uh, once he uh, once he gave up that life of a deer and then took the third birth, he came as Jad Bharat, and then he knew that he started acting like a crazy person so that nobody will come and associate with him. So he knew like he had two births wasted. Instead of going back to godhead in his first birth itself, he had to take two more births. So he started keeping away from the worldly people, so that he can go back to godhead in his third birth. Am I right, Mataji?
Yes, mother. So what happens then? Bharat Maharaj, he went to Vanaprastha. He took up Vanaprastha, giving up his kingdom and all to his sons and to take care. And then while he was doing that, one day he sees a deer. There will be a pregnant deer which will be running because a lion was chasing. So it was trying to flee from there, and while crossing the river, it falls down and gives birth to a baby deer. So this Maharaj would have seen, and then he says, "Oh, poor baby has fallen," and he comes, saves it, and he brings it. But day by day, instead of doing his practice, his sadhana, he will be more concerned about that deer, whether it has eaten, where it has gone, what has happened. And one day we'll never see the deer, and he feels, where did it go? And he goes in search of the deer, and then he falls into a pit and gives his life. But because of his so much of accumulated, he had punya. I mean, he was a devotee, So Krishna was merciful. He, in the next birth, when he took the birth of a deer, he gave him that remembrance that he was a thing. So it was always near the ashram. And then after finishing that birth, he comes back with a human form as a Jada Bharata. Okay. And then he would not, even his father will try to teach him things, but he refuses to listen to anything. He was like a Jada. And these brothers are all ill-treating. He didn't bother with nothing. He was, and then because he wanted to focus solely on the Lord and not to get attracted to any of this sense gratification. And finally, he goes to about, and there's a nice discussion also there in thing. Okay. So this what happens. I mean, Maya can catch you at any time. It's not that it will be only in the beginning stage. It even at the when you're even in your sadhana at the topmost, even there you can slip. Okay. So this is what we understand from this pastime. So therefore, Arjuna, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna. At the same time, carry out your prescribed duty of fighting. With your activities dedicated to me and your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me without doubt. See, now he says every time, you see, whenever he's saying all this, he keeps telling without doubt. So this is the instruction he's giving to us for us to follow, and we should not doubt Krishna. So there is another check and silence with you know by story of Ajamila. Okay, I think we can have time. I think. So Ajamila was a Brahmana, and he was trained by his father, and he was a very dutiful son. And one day he had gone to the forest to collect some flowers and twigs for the yagna, the thing. There he sees a couple in a passionate mood. And then he says, I'll just see for a minute. And then afterwards, when he comes back home, he'll be only thinking of that, and slowly he gets that desire cultivates, and then he brings that prostitute home. If his parents are, he throws out his parents, and his wife is also gone away, and he takes into so many what do you call, all sinful activities like gambling, cheating, all that, just to please the prostitute. So to get more money and everything. And ultimately, he will be having even children at the age of 80. When he was in 80s, he had a 2-year-old son. So that time, when during at the last stage, when we see some demonic people coming near him, so then he cries out, and then he cries out for saying Narayana, Narayana, because that was the name of his son. When he cries out for Narayana, then Vishnu Dutas come. Okay. So that time when Vishnu Dutas come, there will be a big argument between Vishnu Dutas and Yamadutas. This Yamaduta said this person has done, the sinful activities enormous. You can't think of this or that. Whatever you name it, he has done it. And for him, there is nothing. He has to come with us. But Vishnu Dutta said, no, he has uttered the name, he has taken the name of the Lord at the final hour. So we have come to finish. So we will take him. So then there's a big, and then these Yamadutas get so perplexed and they go back. And then they ask Yamaraj. So in that, there's a big, nice discussion there when Yamaraj will be telling them why it is auspicious when Vishnu Dutas come. We have no chance, because the minute they take the Lord's name, that is the power in the Lord's name. So, and the fine. So then the thing that is very nice to read and understand. That's part of the Bhagavata. So finally, then Ajamila now realizes, that's the time when he realizes what he had done, how he has wasted his life. And then he'll be thanking the Vishnu Dutas for giving him a second chance. Okay. So then he walks away straight away from the house, goes to Haridwar, and does a lot of tapas and things, and then later gets liberated. So taking the name of Narayana at the final hour, it might be here, he might said he might was only called out for the son, but still the name has got a lot of power, Shakti, and Vishnu Dutas came. So he was given a second chance. Okay, that is the story. Abhyasa yoga yuktena chetasa nanya ghamina paramam purusham divyam eti pratarichat. He who meditates on Supreme Personality of Godhead, his mind constantly engaged in remembering me, undeviated from the path, Partha Arjuna, is sure to reach me. So he says, now he talks about how we can go back to him. He tells us the path. Okay, we need to meditate on the Lord, always engaged in remembering him, undeviated. So what way one should remember the Lord? Now, you see, step by step, in a logical manner, you'll see how Krishna is taking us and giving us instructions. So now, even one of them, I think Mataji was asking me how to remember the Lord. So the Lord now talks about, one should meditate upon the Supreme Person as the one who knows everything. You can't hide from him. He is there in everyone as Paramatma, and he's maintaining the whole world and everything. And he knows your past and he knows your present, and knowing how you work or how your consciousness, attitude are, he can guess what your future also would be. So he who is the oldest, who is the controller, who is smaller than the smallest, who is maintainer of everything, who is beyond all material conception, who is inconceivable, and is always a person, is a Sham Sundar. He is luminous like the sun, and intranscendental, is beyond this material. So we should meditate on the Sham Sundar form of the Lord, because he is the supreme concept. So now he is telling how to meditate. So for one who remembers me without deviation, I am easy to obtain, O son of Pratha, because of his constant engagement in devotional service. So finally he says, it is Nitya Uktasya Yogina. Anyanya Chetata Satatam Yam Smarati Nityasa Tashyaham Sulabha Patha Nitya Yuktasya Yogina. So constant engagement and devotional service. Only that we can approach the Lord. Okay. So what is the difference? Now he's keeping telling, now you can come back to my abode, can come back to my world. Then what is the difference between this material world and the spiritual world? Okay. Any basic difference? Can we think, because we keep telling about it, can anyone guess what is the difference between the material world and the spiritual world? Hare Krishna. Can try it. It's not that difficult.
I think, Mataji, in the spiritual world, people are liberated from the cycle of birth and death, whereas in the material world, one has to come back again and again in the form of
Yeah.
birth and death.
That is the basic thing. So when we go to the spiritual world, we no need to come back. We are there all the time, eternally with the Lord. So that is the thing. So that is what we should aim for, not for to be in this material world, cycle after cycle. So after attaining me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion never return to this temporary world, which is full of miseries because they have attained the highest perfection. So he says, Mam yopetya punarjanma dukkhalayam ashvashta. So this material world is dukkhalaya. It is full of miseries. What are the kinds of miseries we have here? Can you all tell?
Disease, death.
Disease, death, yes. And also you have miseries from our own body, the diseases, and you will get also trouble from the other living entities, like other family members or in your own neighbors, or it could be that country, in one country is fighting with the other country, see, so with the other living entities. And also you can get miseries from the nature, just like we have heavy flooding and earthquakes and all that. So these three kinds of miseries are there, which is full of miseries. So whether you like it or not, are there. And it's a temporary world. And it's not that you are going to be here eternally. So we need to remember that. So he says, he himself is telling, it is dukkhale. And whatever we think we are happy, is just flickering. It's only for some time. Again, you'll have, so happiness and distress keeps coming and going to us. So he says, after attaining me, the great souls or yogis in devotion never return to this temporary world, which is full of miseries, because they have attained the highest perfection. So from the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all are places of misery wherein repeated birth and death takes place. But one who attains my abode, O son of Kunti, never takes birth again. So whether we go to lower planets or to higher planets, even to Svargaloka or to Brahmaloka, Satyaloka also if you go, but still you have to come back to Goloka. Okay, there is a period of time. Okay, you might be for 100 years, there you might be for 10,000 years or 100,000 years, but still, after your punya credit is over, you need to come back here. And then from here only you can go. So there's no freedom from birth and death cycle. So only when you attain my home, you can never take birth again. So this material world is temporary and spiritual world is eternal. And then he's talking about in these verses 18, 17 to 19, he talks about the Brahmaloka, how, and that too, how many times we get annihilated. See, when we die, we take another body, isn't it? That's one time of changing, transmigration and all that. But what happens when Brahma's day, one day I showed you earlier, the calculations, 1,000 ages taken to the duration of one day. So when Brahma's night comes, when he goes to sleep, then what happens to us? That time we all go back into the Mahavishnu's womb, Garbha. And then when again he wakes up, all of us come back. And again the whole thing comes back, the material world and the jivas. Okay, that's one. That's the second time. First is when we die and take birth in this, during the day of Brahma. Okay. And when during the night of Brahma, we go back to the Vishnu's thing, and then when he again wakes up, we come back. So when Brahma's day is manifested, the multitude of living entities comes into being. At the arrival of Brahma's night, they are all annihilated. And then when the whole thing is over, that is the final thing. When Brahma's life is over, I mean, he has a certain period of life, right? When his period is over, then the whole thing gets annihilated. Then again, we go back to the womb. So, only thing is when you read all this timeline, what we think is, might as well use this human body's opportunity and try to take advantage. And then why wait for so many yogas and yugas to get back to the law? Okay, so this is the calculations there is given by Krishna. So yet there is another nature which is eternal and is transcendental to this manifested and manifested matter. It is supreme and is never annihilated. When all in this world is annihilated, that part remains as it is. Actually, it is not all this cosmic thing is just 1/4 of the whole thing. Okay, spiritual world is quite huge. And avakta kshara ektas tam aham paramam gatim yam praptya na nivartante tad dhamma paramam mama. So that which the Vedas declares unmanifest and infallible, that which is known as supreme destination, that place from which having attained it, one never returns. That is my supreme abode. So he is telling us, please think about it. That's why should he talk about the spiritual? Because we should get attracted to it. No, we should know that there is a world there, and from where we don't have to come back. So knowing that, so he keeps describing about the supreme destination. And this Golaka chart, no, we have taken it from Brahma Samhita. Okay, and thing, and I'll just this is our earth, and from Mahavishnu, so many universes keep coming out of his pores. Okay, when he starts creating, when he starts, then into each universe, Mahavishnu will go as a Garbhadaksha Vishnu. Okay, I mean there's an expansion of the Vishnu. It goes as a Garbhadaksha Vishnu, and from his Garbha, Brahma is created, the living, and then he is given the job of creating the whole thing. So he, in this universe where we are living, the 14 planets have been created, and then into each of them, the living entities come into all these planets. I mean, it could be devotees, or it could be demons, it could be asuras, it could be as jivas. All the jivas are there here, and then in each of them, Shirodakshina Vishnu will enter as a Paramatma. So that's how this whole creation takes place. And then during the annihilation, when the night of thing, we all go back into the womb of the Mahavishnu. Then again we come out during the night, and during the day of Brahma, during the night we go back. And when the whole thing, life of Brahma is over, then whole thing is annihilated completely. And who are still remaining will all go back into the womb. And Devatas and all that, they will go as per their karma. They go. Brahma will go back to the Lord's abode, because they have come here for some responsibilities they have taken here, and after their duty is over, they go back. So here from him, then the last, I mean, to create this, the Durga Devi will be there, Rama Devi, Sambhu, then Maya, and we are under Durga Devi's thing, Shagat. This is more.
So I think if you relate it to science, it is a mass extinction, right? So every few million years there is a mass extinction. So that probably correlates with Brahmaji's night.
But it's much, the calculation is much more, Prabhuji. Science says, we have come out of nothing. No, that's a Big Bang theory. Actually, it is the Big Bang. From where did it come?
Right. No, I was not saying that. I was saying they also talk about a mass extinction every few million years.
Yeah.
That mass extinction probably can relate to Brahmaji's night.
Yeah. So the Brahmaji's thing. So all this timeline of Prabhuji is there in the Bhagavatam. Very detailed it is given. Okay, in the 3rd canto. So very detailed about all this. I still have not got into my head all how the things and all that there. Let's here it says each covering is 10 times the diameter of the previous covering. We have earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. This is the covering for our universe, and this is how it is. And these all they were able to derive it from the Brahma Samhita. That is the Brahma Samhita was the first when Brahma, after his tapas, he gets the darshan of the Lord. That time he prayer he gives. The prayers of his is known as Brahma Samhita. Okay. And then jivas, when they go back to the Lord, you can have any, it could be any of the relationships. We could be as a tree there, or it could be as a bird, or as a cow or a calf, or I think all these we have relationships, are the relationship, or it could be a friends, Sakya or Dasa, then it could be Vatsalya or Madhurya. So any of these 5 rasas, all the jivas will be there eternally serving the Lord. So the spiritual master will find the ways and means for his disciple to fix his mind on this. So once if you take the shelter, because we need training. We need training to be in this Krishna consciousness, right? To be in this devotional service. So it needs to have go take the shelter of spiritual master who will be able to guide us and to fix our mind on the Lord. So there is a nice prayer by the Kulakshekara, it's a king. He says, "O Krishna, please allow my mind to immediately yield to your lotus feet, just as the flamingo enters into the labyrinth of the lotus flower stems. When at the moment of my last breath, my throat becomes constricted by the action of the bodily humors, air, bile, and phlegm. How will I able to remember you?" So he's telling, see, at the last minute, I don't know what my body would be. I don't know in what condition. That time I might not even be able to remember you. So when I'm now itself, will you please take me to your lotus feet? That is true, isn't it? When might be going into coma also. So we don't know. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is greater than all, is attainable by unallowed devotion. Although he is present in his abode, he is all pervading and everything is situated within. Okay? He is there everywhere. He is there in us, he is there in the world. You can see him. He said in the last chapter, I am the taste of the water, I am the ability, I am the Om, Kara, I am the sound Om. And he says, I am the sunlight and moonlight. You can see his, through his energies, we can remember him. And also we can remember him. So now this is the question given by our Prabhuji. Is the world is Dukkalaya or you think it's a Sukkalaya? So Vedeshu Yagneshu Tapasu Chaiva Dhaneshu Yat Punya Phalam Pratishtam Atyeti Tat Sarvam Idam Viditva Yogi Param Sthanam Upaiti Chadyam. A person who accepts the path of devotional service is not bereft of the results derived from studying the Vedas, performing austere service, sacrifices, giving charity, or pursuing philosophical and fruitive activities. At the end, he reaches the Supreme Abode. See, we were talking about Manav Seva and Madhav Seva. So he says, just taking up the path of devotional service, you will get the same punya of what you get from studying Vedas or austerities and sacrifice and giving charity, whatever it is, all that results you will get just by taking the path of devotional service. At the end, finally, what is the purpose? We need to reach him, Supreme Lord. And this is the only way, by taking devotional service. So here, one is, we know the path is laid out in the Vedic times to do the rituals, then learn the Kama Kanda, then go to Jnana Kanda, then Upasa Kanda, and all that step by step, like, carry out the orders of Brahmachari. Brahmachari is that, and then become householder, Vanaprastha, then sannyas. Either you do that, or you can take away, straight away go to Krishna consciousness, surpasses all rituals and orders. What do you mean by Krishna consciousness? At least let us think about it. What we understand by saying being in Krishna consciousness. Can anyone tell and describe? Because I keep telling it. So I would like to know what we have understood so far.
Be conscious of the fact that there is Krishna all around you, and then we keep taking his name.
Yes, Prabhuji. And also we are the soul and not the body.
Yes.
Isn't it? And we are part and parcel of him. That's why we have, he says, no, we have a superior energy like him. And also he says, when you come final hour, you will get the same nature as my nature. That is his superior energy. We have Satchitananda, right? But we are only tiny bit. We are not the, it's like a drop of water and not the full ocean. He is a ocean and we are just a tiny drop of water, which has the same chemical properties like the ocean. But we are part and parcel of him, and we are soul, and we have forgotten that. And what was our role to be? We need to serve him. That instead of serving him, we are serving Maya here in this world. There's a Dukkalaya. So once we are aware of it, and also we are aware, we should be, that is the thing we need to understand. We have to Awareness should be there. That is all we are trying to get it from this reading Bhagavad Gita. Okay, that is what we mean by Krishna consciousness. That is, we are consciousness of our relation to the Lord and what is our identity and not, and our, what was our dharma. That is, we need to go back to him, our destination. Okay, that is Krishna. So this was what we covered today. 8 questions by Arjuna, remembering Krishna at the time. And we didn't, I mean, Yoga Mishra is the bhakti who have done the Paramatma in the heart. No, they have different times and all that, but pure bhakti is what is most important. That's the only one which we can come out of it. And then he talked about material world and spiritual world and supremacy of pure bhakti in attaining Krishna. Okay. So in that, there's one where he was, Nardamuni was giving, Yudhishthira was asking him so many questions, how to rule and what are the things he should know as a king and everything. One thing he keeps telling, my dear king, one has to fix his mind on Krishna by any means. Whatever you do, somehow or other, try to keep thinking of him. That's all you need to do in your life to get salvation. I think we have time to hear Brahma Samhita. I think for few stanzas we'll listen and then we can close this. Okay. Wait, I should share the sound. Share sound. Just 1 minute, you'll be getting it. Okay, this goes on. Okay, so we come back to our last. So this is what we learned. That is material world. We have to remember this is Dukkalya. We have to remember the Lord at the time of death, and it's pure devotion bhakti. Okay. Krishna Prabhupada says, if you have any doubts are natural, but certain things can increase our faith. One is the knowledge of the person, that is knowledge, knowing about the Lord, then association with the devotees, then experience. That is, we have to experience this for ourselves. Okay. Then let us stop. Vancha kalpatra abhyascha kripa sindhu avevacha patitam nam parnebhyo vaishnavyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Chant and